You think you saw it?
I think it's that.
Oh, it's a tiny fence. That's got to be it. Maryland, that side. Something, something, United States, that side.
Jurisdiction, United States?
I guess they hadn't named DC at the time. I'm gonna get my compass out. Would you believe the United States almost had a perfect square state? Well, district, I guess. Except it doesn't matter, because they don't. Because Virginia changed their mind. That stone was put there in 1792 to mark the absolute northmost tip of the District of Columbia. And actually the north-south line runs exactly that way. And then DC, the borders go 45 degrees that way and then 45 degrees that way, making an exact 90-degree right angle corner to the district. And the original goal was that it was going to be a square. Except it's not. So today, we're going to walk the entire side of the US state / district, and then we're going to walk the bit that's not there, but should be there, because this is the square state that isn't. So we are actually in DC because we're filming with the Smithsonian Museum for a different project. It's a much bigger video that's going to take absolutely ages. However, when we had a day off, this is like the stand-up maths day retreat. I've always wanted to see the square-shaped DC outline, which is why we're doing this. And initially, we had to take some roads, because you can't actually walk exactly along the border the whole way. It's not all publicly accessible. Couple roads, we're pretty much back on it now. The size of 10 miles. There's a marking stone every mile. We're going to try and find all 9 of them. 9, fence post problem. And then the far corner, I'm joined by producer Nicole and camera person Truman, who's going to awkwardly, there they are, they're behind the camera. All right, come on, let's get the next one. All right, we're seeing it, it's over here. Truman spotted it first, points to Truman. It's on this snow-free road we could have just walked down. But we're not the only people who've done this. Like, multiple other people have walked here and walked around it. Eh? Stone. Look at that. We've now walked 10% of the way and seen 1/11 of the stones. Fence post problem. All right.
You'll be delighted to know that the next one is exactly 1 mile away.
The border follows this road now, which is very convenient. Although we think it's the center of the road, Nicole?
Probably.
Over there. For safety purposes, we're walking over here. But it means those houses in Maryland have representatives in Congress. And these houses in DC don't. But they're still taxed. And they're very upset about it. A lot of older countries got their capitals by a game of musical chairs, where the monarch would move their court around the country, and then when the monarchy stopped, wherever they were, tends to be the capital. So like London's the capital of England, but it wasn't always. That's just where the royal court was, when everyone kind of sat down and stayed. Whereas newer countries get to choose. So in Australia, there was a big argument between Sydney and Melbourne, and they picked a spot right in the middle, and they put in the Australian Capital Territory. However, the ACT is not a nice square, could have been. It's a weird shape, looks like an angry tadpole. Whereas in America, they were like, right, we're going to put it in a new place, so New York and everywhere else aren't arguing about who should be the capital, and we're going to make it a square. That's how you do it, America. Good work. Okay, there's no sidewalk, and it's in their front yard. Are we allowed to go over there?
I think we can walk down their driveway.
I mean, I can see it from here.
Jurisdiction.
I feel a lot safer being over here. That's clearly not exactly on the line though, if it's in their yard. Like, is the line the street? Well, you know what, when we find the next one, which will be the 4th stone, 3 miles in, fence post problem, we'll see how they line up. That one's got a hat. It's pretty cool. Their house number is rotationally symmetric. How cool is that? Did I just dox them? Nah.
Oh!
There it is. I would say that's roughly the same distance back.
Uh-huh. Yeah, a driveway's depth.
These folks have got a fence though. That's pretty unambiguous, don't come onto our property. There it is.
All right.
It's probably the closest we're going to get to it. Wow. So this one lines up with the previous one, which is interesting. So either the road was consistently put next to the stones, and now that's the modern border, or they were all kind of moved off to the side because they were getting in the way on the road. We don't know. But it definitely lines up with the other one. On to the next. We'll stop for a coffee from a local independent chain, and we're next to 3 permanently reversing trucks, because before we carry on any further, we have to discuss the other square states. And by square, I mean rectangle. The most famous of those are Wyoming and Colorado. And I guess they're squarish because they got, in theory, right angle corners. But if you look into it, they're specified as being all the land between 2 given lines of latitude and 2 lines of longitude, which is not a real rectangle. It's our old nemesis, spherical geometry. So because the lines of longitude get closer together as you go towards the poles, and because lines of latitude are not true straight lines on a sphere, they're not great circles, they're actually weird frustum wedge-shaped states. I believe Colorado is 21 miles more wide at the bottom than it is at the top. So I don't accept them as rectangles. I think they should be thrown loudly into a bin, but actually it gets worse than just that. Colorado is indeed defined by lines of latitude and longitude. If you zoom in somewhere like over here, look at this, there's a little kink in the border. What's going on there? And I get it's a difficult state to draw lines on because this is a big flat plain. These are the Rocky Mountains, and so when you come in and look at stuff like this, you can kind of understand it. Whoever was drawing the line missed, and they had to put a little, look at that little correction in the border, so it's definitely not a rectangle. In fact, we downloaded the GPS coordinates for all 944 marker points which define the outline of Colorado, so at max, it's a 944 are gone, although some of them may actually line up. And you can see here, that's the kink we were looking at before, and some of these, this looks consistently off to the west, but it's hard to spot because at this scale, looks like a rectangle. So over here, we can exaggerate it, ignore all the mess. What I'm doing is multiplying how far off it is to make the shape more exaggerated. So if we were to move everything 10 times further away from where it should be than it currently is, you can see, first of all, the north-south vertical lines are way off. This should be over here. It's all the way over there. There's that kink we saw before, now much more exaggerated. And even below that, you can see all these little bits coming and going. And some line up and some don't. So it's an n-gon between 4 and 944. These horizontal ones are much closer, which is the classic case of when you're surveying, looking up at the stars, etc. Way easier to get your line of latitude than it is to get your line of longitude. I actually have to multiply these instead of by 10. If I push the horizontal lines out to a multiplier of 100, okay, it's going to destroy our vertical lines. But now you can see, there's the kinks in the horizontal lines. They're also all over the place. And what's fascinating is even though it was originally defined with lines of latitude and longitude, once these markers were put down, it was redefined. These now give you the official outline of Colorado. Behold, this is your so-called rectangular state. Oh, I see a fence.
Hey.
I see a sign. I see a stone.
Hey.
This has got the biggest plaque yet.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a plaque. Look at it.
It's a good plaque.
Good plaque. It's such a precise stone. Look at it. So not only is DC small enough that your latitude, longitude problems don't really apply, it's flat as far as I'm concerned. And it's on a nice angle, it's not even defined by lines of latitude and longitude, but they also surveyed it super accurately. It's such a good square. There's no way this can go wrong. Spoiler, it's gonna go wrong. Yes, we did briefly cheat by jumping on a bike and some scooters. We were getting tired. We've seen a few markers that are slightly inaccessible because they're on private land, but the next one is like down here up through the woods, and sadly we can't get to it. Online someone said they had to get the Army Corps of Engineers to escort them there to see it, and given this is like military related land in that case, I don't want to get arrested. We're not going to go down there, but given this is the exact midpoint of the side of the square, it's a nice chance for, it turns out, Future Map in a voiceover to talk about just how square this is. Over to you, Future Map. Thanks, Past Matt. Yes, I've got Google Maps up and you can see the exact square shape of all the markers. Incredible. And the team are walking their way down this top edge and it looks like it's a lot of fun. I'm very pleased I was able to join in the video. Oh, my pleasure. I knew you wouldn't want to miss out on this trip. Cheers, I really appreciate being involved. How's it all going out there on the ground? Past Matt? Oh, he's been arrested. Okay, fine. So it turns out over here, there we are, trying to see this stone in military land. Last known location of Past Matt, up here, end of that street. Oh well, we'll move on in his memory. So here on Google Maps, we have the exact locations of all of the stones. The ones without a dot are the ones that are missing, but the rest are still extant. We're exploring this north to west side at the top, part of the way down so far. These locations are from the fantastic website boundarystones.org, where they have so much more information if you want to check it out, and they have them all plotted in Google Maps, which you can see on their website, or you can just see them in Google Maps if you search for them. And look at that square. I can compare that to an old-timey map they made in the early 1900s, and even in this case, some of them had fallen over. I think those ones have been found, other ones are now missing, but look at that. And yes, you could say in its current orientation it's a diamond, but I don't buy that. Give it a 45-degree rotation. Look at that. Perfect square. Just so square. And sure enough, I've put all 40 GPS coordinates of the stones into Excel so I can plot them, and oh my goodness, look at that. That's a square. Okay, I've distorted it a bit, but that is a square. It's just so square-like, but I should be fair, like I did to Colorado, can I distort it a bit? So here I've got a scale, which means I can move them away from where they should be. But where should they be, you say? Did I split it into all four sides so I could do lines of best fit? Maybe. And did I then adjust them so the up and down latitude is considered canonical and we work out what the error is in the longitude? Maybe I did that as well. But the point is, I can now exaggerate the error and we can compare it to Colorado. So if we go out to 10 times, like we saw really through the side to side of Colorado, it's barely changed. That's a 10 times exaggeration of the error. Isn't that incredible? If we go out to 100 times, now we're going to see some effects at 100. It's a little bit off now. And the mismatch of the corners, that's largely my corner handling in terms of how I did the equations for the edges. So let's not judge it too harshly. But it's a very quick and messy attempt to see how close it is to a square. The sides are holding up real well. These boundary stones really are in a perfect square shape, and therefore, so is DC. Incredible. I hand you back now to Past Matt, who thankfully has evaded capture.
I see it, you see it?
Oh, there it is. Yay, Nicole saw it first. It's over there. The sixth stone, accessible by this like walking and cycling trail. I say accessible. It's on the other side of that fence. Terrifying fence with a no trespassing US government property sign. So close enough for me, onwards and upwards to the next one.
Okay, now.
Our
choices are limited. There's only one crossing of the Potomac River.
It's Potomac.
And it's a 40-minute walk away.
It's Potomac.
Because we would have to go all the way up the trail, cross over down the towpath and then down.
How far up is that? Oh my goodness, that's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
For the record, to get to the bridge, you go along a very long switchback over there and all the way back. You do not take the non-sanctioned, unauthorized shortcut. Please note that. Triangle. Oh, no. This shouldn't be Virginia. We should be walking into DC. You know what Virginia isn't for? Lovers of squares. Don't shake your heads like that. You knew what you signed on for.
Some of these photos have a real backyard vibe to them.
Ah.
Oh, it's this one, Matt. There it is.
Yeah, is it over there? Right,
Yeah.
we found it. Seems to be in someone's backyard. Great. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's no way we can get to that. We can see it though.
I wonder what it's done for the value of the house.
They've lifted a chair right in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the seventh stone. It's in someone's backyard. We can just kind of see it without invading their privacy too much, but you think that should be fine. We're still on the line. We can do the whole this side is Virginia, this side is DC routine, but we can't because now both sides are Virginia. It turns out after in the 1790s, double swearing that as soon as the Capitol gets built, Virginia will definitely give them the land. In the 1840s, they officially changed their mind. Here's how it went down. 1719, Congress tells George Washington you can have up to 100 square meters somewhere on the Potomac River to be the new capital. 1791, George says, I want this bit, combining the ports of Georgetown, Maryland with Alexandria, Virginia. In 1792, they start putting out the stones to mark the exact square, and George goes for all 100 square miles they were allowed. Things get built, 1800, the government moves in 1801, they officially claim the land from Maryland and Virginia to form the District of Columbia. We have a perfectly square territory, and in 1803 people start voting to leave. And not just 1803, there are serious efforts for both sides of DC to go back to their respective states in 1803 and 4 and 6, 20, 22, 24, 1836, 1840 and 1844. Why were the people so unhappy with this taxation? They're being taxed, and because they're now part of DC, they no longer have representatives at governmental level. So they feel like they're paying money to the government, but they have no say in the government whatsoever. Tradition that's continued to today. And Americans have a whole history of not liking being taxed without representation. They start throwing beverages in harbors, you know the deal. And of course, slavery. Both sides were worried that DC would outlaw the slave trade and the surrounding states wouldn't. So there you are. American history in a nutshell, tax and slavery. It all came to a head in 1846 when a new canal went in Alexandria, which caused increased taxes to pay for it, and they finally had enough. In the same year, the city of Alexandria voted to leave. Virginia said they would officially accept them back, and Congress was like, fine, you can retrocess, off you go. And in 1847, they left, no longer paying taxes without representation. They're now back part of Virginia. And for the record, in 1850, DC did outlaw the slave trade. So their concerns around that were also true. The surrounding states didn't until the Civil War. But there you are, DC was briefly a perfect square for 46 years, just under half a century of perfect squareness. You know what, given the square doesn't even exist anymore and the sun is setting, we're just going to Uber through the last two, see you at the corner. Eighth one is in the backyard up there. Ninth one at the back of their yard. And the 10th one, the other corner.
The corner that should have been.
Permission to mark. Granted. Who's Mark? And they, another 2000, they did it again. Stop dedicating it. There it is, the westmost corner, another incredibly accurately located stone in the square state that isn't. And very sadly, it's not the square state because DC isn't a state and it's not a square. And I think it's probably too late to fix both those things. I mean, it might become a state, you know, maybe the people will pay tax and get representation in Congress, but I can't see Virginia handing the land over. It could have been so good, but we can blame, well, actually not all of these people. We can blame approximately a quarter of these people. We can blame everyone from there to over there, these chumps, for voting out. And my final thought is I think it's very funny that what could have been the squarest district / state in all of the United States, so precise. It was right at the end of the lovely shape spectrum that states could be. And by changing, to use the river, a fractal line to divide up the state, it's gone in the complete opposite direction to be the absolute worst, unmeasurable, chaotic nightmare it could be. Well done, Virginia. I hope you're happy. I hope you are happy with yourselves. Well, thanks for watching a video about the square state. That wasn't, yeah, we'll link to the Google map below and some resources if you want to find any of the 36 extant stones. Thanks to producer Nicole for running around and camera person Truman. They're both there, I swear, they exist. They're just out of shot. It's very nice. They are very nice of them. This is what a day off looks like when you're on a stand-up mass film shoot. Guys, we're gonna have a whole day off and we're gonna use it to walk the length of a square. Not even all of the square exists. I mean, I had a great time.
Hey, it's Truman, the camera guy here. I just wanted to say that I tried to tell them that it's pronounced Potomac in Maryland, but, you know, I tried my best. What do you want me to say? They're foreigners. Give them a break, okay?